Hello and welcome to Rajya Sabha Television. You're watching The Big Picture with me, Frank Rausen Pereira. Well, Vice President Venkaiah Naidu has said that corruption, discrimination, exploitation and violation of basic human rights continue to erode social fabric across the world, triggering unrest, anger, rebellion and extremism. Addressing diplomats and students in Panama City, Naidu expressed serious concern over the growing disconnect in the present world and called for intensified collective global effort to address basic problems like poverty and inequality. He asserted that India is seeking a new world order and action based on the country's ancient wisdom and values that advocated harmonious existence and common good. Ambassadors of about 40 countries to Panama later interacted with Naidu and appreciated the major initiatives and their implementation by the central government and the fast-growing Indian economy. Later in the day, Naidu arrived in the Peruvian capital of Lima after visiting Guatemala and Panama for 2 days each. On this edition of The Big Picture, we will take stock of the Vice President's three-nation visit to Latin America. Joining me on the program today are Neeraj Srivastava, former diplomat, KP Nair, senior journalist and also strategic analyst, and Harshvi Pant, head Strategic Studies Observer Research Foundation. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on this edition of The Big Picture. So Nair, I'd like to begin with you first. Of course, what's the significance of the three-nation visit?
Well, the Vice President is signifying the importance that we are giving to Latin America. There has been a feeling for a very long time that India doesn't pay adequate attention to countries in this region. And it is very appropriate that he has started the visit in Guatemala because it is Central America's biggest economy and biggest population. There is an Indian community there. In terms of tourism, it is a developing area. And you know, these countries are actually very important to us, distance notwithstanding, because there are 34 countries in the region. And for example, we, in our effort to get a permanent seat in the UN Security Council, you know, in the UN, US has 1 vote, Panama has 1 vote, they are equal. 34 votes make a big difference, and economically also they are resurgent now. Many of these countries have shed the past when economic growth was slow. So this is a very timely visit, and it's very appropriate that, as I said, that the President has started with Guatemala. Vice President has started with Guatemala.
Sure. A timely and an appropriate visit is what Mr. Nair is calling it. Ambassador Srivastava, what are the takeaways from this visit?
Well, the takeaways are that I know that in terms of signing of agreements, for example, 2 agreements have been signed with Panama. 1 agreement has been signed with Guatemala regarding training of diplomats, and with Panama it is in a large number of areas. So that is one thing. The other thing is, of course, that from the Indian side, this is perhaps the highest level visit to these countries in many years. And
I think to Guatemala it is the highest.
In Guatemala, the highest. And so, you know, it is a visit which signifies outreach, basically, despite the geographical distance. And there has been some neglect in the past, you know, as far as this region is concerned. So now the government is trying to make up for lost time and to renew contacts. And then, you know, one of the takeaways, for example, with Panama was that they will support our candidature in the Human Rights Council in Geneva, and we will support their candidature in the non-permanent membership seat in the
I think with Guatemala it was the International Solar Alliance as well, and you know, several other things too. Yeah,
several other things. So these are concrete takeaways. Also Panama, you know, there's a 15,000 strong Indian diaspora there. They are the descendants of people who had gone to Panama to build the Panama Canal and the railways more than 100 years ago. this is what it is, that and that, you know, as it has been pointed out, that in international bodies like the UN, all countries have one vote. So if you need their support for any of your candidatures or other things, you need to, you know, you need to interact with them. It's not enough to just sort of issue statements. So, so in that sense, I think it's a visit which is important.
Sure.
And one of the signals of importance I can tell you is that, you know, during the visit to the Panama Canal, the president of Panama himself, he broke protocol, and he himself accompanied our vice president to the Panama Canal to visit.
Sure.
So it shows that their appreciation on their part,
Right.
that, you know, we value your visit.
Indeed, indeed.
Yeah.
Professor Pant, why has this region been neglected in the past, and how important is it for us to engage with South and Latin American countries?
Well, I would think you know, a couple of factors make it perhaps very, very significant for us to engage with this region. Not simply in terms of rhetoric, but I think in terms of substance, we need to be moving forward. And I think this visit perhaps lays ground for that. Because as I think Mr. Nayyar pointed out, there is a feeling that this is a region which, despite the fact that we visit America so often, somehow the southern part of you know, is neglected. Now that is, I think at times, you know, logistics play a role, geography plays a role. But if you think in terms of how similar we are in our cultural attributes, how similar we are in terms of our cuisine, how similar we are in terms of our orientation, in many ways, in many domains, I think it is perhaps quite ironic that we have not given the kind of attention that the region deserved. As India's global confidence grows, global profile grows, I think you know, it stands to reason that India would certainly, or India should take advantage of a region that perhaps can play a very, very important role in terms of economics, trade, mineral resources. Also in terms of the fact that you know, your other countries like China are increasing their footprint.
You know, that's what I was going to get to. China has been making forays into South America and Central America for a while now. Is that something that's probably playing on our minds? I
think partly, but you know, that can be one of the reasons, but that cannot be the sole prism through which you view a particular region, entire region, a geographic space, as you know, as was suggested, 34 odd countries. Very, very important in terms of its geographic you know, outreach, geographic expanse, as well as vitality. But what I think what perhaps needs to be pointed out is that this is also a very important moment in terms of their approach to global politics. As America is turning inwards, China is becoming more outward in its orientation. I think there is a desire on the part of many of these countries to engage other emerging countries, and I think India therefore can position itself at a very in their imagination at a very particular point in time, where India's rise coincides with their desire to engage with certain countries that even for them may not be important till now, but certainly now with the changing landscape, the changing strategic contours as far as the global politics is concerned, become important. So I think in that sense, the convergence between our ability or our willingness to engage with Latin America, South America is certainly congruent with their desire to reach out to other emerging countries.
Sure. You know, with Mr. Nayyar, with everything that Trump has said about the TPP, do you believe that the world is heading towards a protectionist mindset, and people like India and China, countries like India and China, are going to take the lead as far as globalization are concerned, and that's why these countries want to be on board with India and China too?
Well, the world is definitely heading towards protectionism, especially under Trump, which is why, very ironically, Xi Jinping has now become the great globalizer, you know, like what he said in at the World Economic Forum. But you know, the ground for the Vice President's visit was actually prepared much earlier. When the Prime Minister went to Brazil, where he invited the heads of state of several countries, where they came and they had a kind of a regional summit. So we have not been sitting idly we have been making preparations, and the summit with the Prime Minister by all accounts was very successful. And then some Latin American countries came to Goa for as part of the BRICS outreach when we had the meeting there. So the Vice President's visit is like the icing on the cake, you know. I mean, and see, at the end of the day, whatever other visits may be there is nothing like a very big VVIP visit, you know, because in terms of pomp and in terms of protocol and all that, it sends a message. It sends a message of political will, which other visits cannot do. And on a lighter note, if I may say, the Vice President's visit to Guatemala has been very lucky for the Guatemalan leadership, you know, because few minutes after Mr. Venkaiah Naidu met the Vice President of Guatemala, he became the acting president.
Right.
You know? So, because the president left for the swearing in of Costa Rica, the new president of Costa Rica, and under the Guatemalan constitution, when the president is out of town, the vice president is the acting president. So one may say that our vice president elevated the Guatemalan vice president to being the acting president.
Sure, sure. All right. You know, taking the discussion forward, Ambassador, what is it that we stand to gain from Central American countries and South American countries?
You know, I think in terms of trade and investment, we stand to gain. There is potential for gain and a win-win situation for both. Many of these countries are important exporters of commodities and minerals, which we require.
Right.
And Indian companies can set up, production units and other centers in these countries. So I would say that, not surprisingly, trade and investment has been one of the top points on the agenda of this visit. The second is that, the greater cooperation in international fora, particularly UN and its related agencies, where, as it was pointed out by Professor Pant, that if countries like US are, becoming more inward-looking, then countries like India, and other large countries, they may have to play a bigger role, and these countries also, I think it needs to be pointed out that many of these countries are members of the non-aligned movement. They are members of the non-aligned movement.
Yes.
And on the, as far as the foreign policy outlook is concerned, I think there are common elements between India's foreign policy and their foreign policy. Many common elements, in fact, convergence. So, and few areas of divergence, very few areas of divergence. So, I think I wouldn't be surprised if in the future, India, along with this group of countries, they play bigger role in international fora, not only in the UN, but in, on the international stage, which is required, because I think the world is becoming more interdependent.
Right.
You may become more inward-looking, but the fact is, terrorism doesn't know any borders. Money laundering doesn't know any borders.
But is terror is that such a big problem in that part of the world?
No, it's not that big problem in that part of the world. But, there have been, so for example, some Sikh separatist activity in Ecuador, if I remember some time back. So, terrorism is also become global in scope, and you never know tomorrow where, it might suddenly show up.
Right.
So, no doubt it's not at the top of our agenda, and these countries are not affected. But what I'm saying is, if you have good relations with these countries, and high-level visits tend to focus attention,
And bring out the best.
and bring out the best, then when you need their help or they need your help, it's there, and there is more understanding between the two sides. And I'm sure that most of these countries would favor a bigger role for India in the United Nations.
Sure.
So these are all common elements
Sure.
we can build upon.
Sure, there are several ways to boost ties between India and that part of the world, is what the ambassador is suggesting. But is geography going to come in the way, Professor Pant?
Well, it should not. If you see the kind of linkages that China has been able to establish that you were pointing out earlier, then I think the argument that geography tends to be a barrier somewhat in this day and age, one should not be looking at that. Certainly, it creates certain kinds of constraints, but I don't think that should be a major constraint in terms of developing the sort of engagement that we want to have. If you look at the trade numbers, I mean, they are pathetic at this point. Compared to the potential, so I think if you just want to reach out, and I mean certainly we cannot.
What do you think our focus area should be?
I think there are energy, food security, both where we are looking for security. I mean Latin America, South America is key to how this landscape is going to shape up in the future. So in that sense, energy and food, if only we can focus on these two areas, there's enormous we can gain enormously from the kind of engagement that perhaps we are trying to put forth. China has a very ambitious target of 200 billion, I think, over the next decade or even before that to reach. We are starting from a very low base, so I think it should not be that difficult to sort of expand on it. But I think if you just look at trade numbers, they don't look very good at this point. And so to generate that kind of momentum is very important. I think one of the interesting things that during this visit, for example, Panama has said that they can be the logistics base for India in terms of projecting India's economic power into that part of the world. And that is, I think, something that India should be very keen to leverage, because that's what we need. As you were talking of geography, that's what if you can find local partners who are able to and willing to give you that kind of leverage in that part of the world, then certainly that helps in alleviating some of our concerns regarding geography. But I think largely what we are looking at is a picture where we have tended to be over-focused on big countries. Like, at the most we talk of Brazil and Argentina. But there is such a big landscape out there that we often don't talk about. We don't know, in fact, how many of these countries are in our cultural consciousness. Apart from samba and salsa and Rio Carnival, we hardly talk about Latin America as a unit that is so vibrant in every way. And if you start comparing it, you will find that there are so many commonalities. So I think we need to be building this not only at the political level, which I think has started, but also how academically, institutionally we can develop these linkages and take them forward in terms of developing a sort of common consciousness, which allows us to build on something that our political decision makers are trying to do.
Yeah, I think that's a very valid point that you have raised. Mr. Nair, going forward, we shouldn't be concentrating on doing business or bilateral ties between big countries, but we should look at smaller groupings as well, who can probably constitute a bigger or a rather larger group of people. For instance, the president has been going to Africa, and we've been inviting African nations to India as well, and that seems to be going well as well. So should that be the way forward for us?
Yes, specifically in the context of Latin America and the Vice President's visit, we had started an arrangement with CARICOM. And we had also started something collectively with Mercosur. But those I think fell by the wayside, and probably the Vice President's visit is an occasion to revive those kind of links. But again, specifically with Peru, I'm very glad that the Vice President is going to Peru, because we had about 15 years ago, I think we had actually made an effort to develop a special relationship with Peru. The then President Alberto Fujimori had come here as chief guest at the Republic Day. Then somehow, because of internal problems in Peru, and the president got into trouble, so the relationship sort of fell by the wayside. And then another reason why the relationship suffered was because there was this element of terrorism in Peru. In fact, the Japanese Red Army, they mounted an attack on the Japanese ambassador's residence, when he was having a National Day function. And I remember our ambassador at that time was Nirupama Rao, who later became Foreign Secretary. And she escaped by a few minutes, you know. She left these, all the people who attended, I think 46 ambassadors were held hostage for 3 days or something like that. But Nirupama Rao left a few minutes before this attack,
happened,
you know.
yeah.
Now, you know, this is an occasion, Vice President's visit is an occasion to put these things behind, to revive the relationship, be happy, so to speak. So the Peru visit in particular is a good augury.
Sure. You know, Ambassador, as far as the visit itself is concerned, high-level visit, the first visit abroad as far as the Vice President is concerned, why these three nations and what message does it send out?
Well, you know, first of all, the first visit by any high dignitary outside the country is supposed to signify the importance. You know, a great deal of importance is attached to that visit, the first visit. So, and I'm certain that these countries would have noted that he is choosing these countries as the first foreign destination. So that itself is a sign of goodwill and would be appreciated, must have been appreciated. Another reason is that I think, I'm sure that in the last several years, there must not have been a high-level visit from India to these countries. Because when, you know, plans are drawn up for high-level visits, we see, you know, which countries have been visited and which countries have been not. And naturally, we try to cover, you know, all the countries. So I'm almost certain that no high-level visit took place to these countries. And of course, the third is the importance of these countries. And in terms of importance, I mean, each one has its own importance. Panama, in terms of the Indian diaspora and as a, you know, hub of logistics base into Latin America. Guatemala is the most populous country in the region and, you know, in Central America. And so should have been visited.
Right.
And Peru is an important country, very important exporter of minerals and you know, other commodities. So I think, you know, these considerations would have been taken into account while planning these visits. And I think the results will speak for themselves.
Okay, results will speak for themselves and we'll have to wait just for time will tell us what
Yes.
exactly is going to happen.
Yes.
But before that, you know, Professor Pant, what is it that we expect from these three Latin American countries and what do they expect in return from us?
I think what they would be expecting is certainly more of a robust role that India can play in terms of how the global economic system is emerging and where it is going. So certainly they would expect India as an emerging giant in the global economy to play a role commensurate with its weight. And that is something that I think is going to be the focus of India's engagement with the region as well. So if you want to focus on trade and investment, you want to make an argument for a more liberal rules-based global economic order, not the one that Mr. Trump is propounding. So I think in that sense, how you position yourself vis-a-vis the kind of global headwinds that are blowing perhaps is going to be a signal of how committed you are towards rejuvenating your engagement with the region and the expectation that the region may have from India. And I think as far as India is concerned, India would certainly be hoping that certain enormously big issues for India like food and energy security, perhaps these countries can play a role, as well as in the multilateral system where many issues of global governance are at stake, where India and Latin America can work together, in tune with each other's priorities. Because at times we have seen that China is more efficient in terms of mustering the support that it gets from its partners across the world. And I think something similar India must be thinking in terms of how you can muster that, that sort of an engagement with countries where you want to invest diplomatically, economically and politically. So that is perhaps the way that we will see the relationship develop. But I would again reiterate that at the end of the day, political engagement of the highest order needs to be sustained by much more work on the ground. So when we are looking at how what we are learning about the region, how that engagement is developing, whether our academics are studying Latin America, our youngsters are studying Latin America, where are they going in terms of economic and our academic exchanges. I think those sorts of issues provide vitality, long-term vitality to a relationship.
Indeed.
And unless that happens, we will only be talking about these one-off trips. So I think this trip and the larger policy that the government has in terms of reaching out to Latin America will have to be sustained by a very broad-based cross-sectoral involvement in this project.
Right. Okay. Quick closing comments from all my guests now. I've got limited time, starting with you, Mr. Nair. What is the significance and thrust of India's outreach globally?
Well, Professor Pant said earlier about how everybody knows Brazil and Argentina. I have a little experience. I was going on a holiday to a very small Latin American country. I don't want to mention the country. And, can you believe it? The airline actually tried to persuade me to go to Brazil or Argentina. Why are you going here? Why don't you go to Brazil? I said, no, I don't want to go to Brazil. I've been there. Go to Argentina. So the fact that the Vice President is going to these countries, I think will bring these countries closer to India in terms of public awareness.
Sure.
And that I think is very important. And I also hope that the Vice President will pay, I haven't seen his program, but I hope he'll pay some attention to tourism.
Right.
In Peru, for example, Machu Picchu, how they organize tourism, we can learn a lot from that. And in terms of our own eco-tourism, I think if there is greater awareness, it's good for our tourism industry as well.
That's a sector that we need to keep our focus on, is what Mr. Nair is saying. Ambassador?
I think what is important is that after the visit is over, I think the follow-up action is very important, and that is that is often not paid enough attention. But that is very important to. If you have made certain commitments, for example, then you deliver on those commitments within the timeline which you have said you will deliver it. And then again, tourism, I think, is another thing.
People-to-people contact as well.
People-to-people contact, we with Latin America is needs to be encouraged and developed because unless there is people-to-people contact, you cannot have a solid basis for a relationship.
Sure, Professor.
Yeah.
Yes, I think I would go back to this argument that ultimately you need involvement of other sectors to rejuvenate this policy. And I think one of the interesting things and important things of Modi government's foreign policy has been outreach to countries which have so far not been at the center of Indian foreign policy. I think this is a great initiative, and this should be carried forward.
To broaden the scope, basically.
By broadening the scope, taking other sectors into account.
All right. On that note, then we'll call it a wrap on this edition of The Big Picture. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on the program and putting things into perspective for us. It's a region that we've neglected in the past, but now seem to be focusing on. Only time will tell what will happen as far as the Vice President's visit to the Latin American countries are concerned, but it's a good start. On that note, we'll call it a wrap on this edition of The Big Picture. See you again next time.